It was Halloween night, and the air was thick with anticipation and the promise of sugar highs. My 3 friends, Alex, Lisa, and Mike, and I, had made a pact to make this Halloween unforgettable. We decided to go trick-or-treating in the neighborhood around 1 a.m. It was a dare, an adventure we couldn't resist. The town was eerily quiet, with only the occasional whisper of wind through the trees. Street lamps cast long, eerie shadows, and the full moon loomed in the sky, adding to the spine-tingling atmosphere. Dressed as a zombie, I felt the chill down my spine as we turned the corner onto a dimly lit street that seemed to belong to another time. The ominous street was lined with ancient, gnarled trees, their twisted branches reaching out like skeletal fingers. It was said that this neighborhood had seen its share of strange happenings, but that only fueled our excitement. Lisa, dressed as a wicked witch, had heard the tale of an old man who lived in a decrepit house at the end of the street, a man who never participated in Halloween festivities and was known to be reclusive and eerie. As we neared the end of the street, the house in question came into view. It was a dilapidated structure with peeling paint and overgrown thorny bushes that reached out to snag at our costumes. All the windows were dark, save for one on the ground floor, where a dim, flickering light could be seen. The conversation turned to the creepy man who lived there. Mike, dressed as a vampire, had heard that he was some sort of recluse, and nobody knew much about him. There were tales of children disappearing on Halloween night and never being seen again. Whether it was fact or fiction, we were about to find out. Our determination to face our fears overcame the initial reluctance. As we approached the front gate, I couldn't help but feel a shiver run down my spine. The wrought iron gate creaked as I pushed it open, and we made our way to the front door. The cracked stone path leading to it was lined with brittle leaves and fallen branches, which crunched beneath our feet. We reached the door, and I exchanged nervous glances with my friends. There was a long moment of hesitation before Alex, dressed as a werewolf, rang the doorbell. A heavy silence followed, and we were just about to turn and flee when the door swung open with a slow, eerie creak. Standing in the doorway was a man who appeared as though he had stepped out of a horror movie. His clothes were ragged and dirty, and his wild, unkempt hair clung to his haggard face. His eyes were sunken, and they stared at us with an unsettling intensity. "Trick or treat," Mike stammered, holding out his bag for candy. The man said nothing, just continued to fix us with that unblinking gaze. Lisa, with a quiver in her voice, piped up, "Are you okay, mister?" Finally, the man's lips curled into a grotesque smile. "Oh, I'm more than okay. Won't you come in and join me for a while?" The invitation took us by surprise, and a tense silence hung in the air. There was an unspoken understanding among us that something about this situation wasn't right. But the lure of a genuine Halloween thrill overpowered our fear. Reluctantly, we stepped over the threshold and into the man's dimly lit home. The foyer was filled with cobwebs, and a musty smell permeated the air. The man led us deeper into the house, and I couldn't help but notice that the flickering candlelight cast long, eerie shadows on the walls. As we entered the living room, it became evident that this place was a haven for the bizarre. Antique furniture covered in dusty cloths lined the room, and strange, esoteric symbols were etched into the wooden floor. It was clear that this man was no ordinary recluse. Our unease grew as we took our seats on a tattered sofa. The man, whose name we still did not know, began to tell us an odd and unsettling story about a curse that had plagued his family for generations. He spoke of rituals and otherworldly beings that were bound to this very house. It was then that I realized we had made a grave mistake. This was no ordinary Halloween thrill. This was a descent into madness. The atmosphere in the room grew heavier, and I could feel a sense of impending doom wash over us. Suddenly, the man's demeanor changed. His smile widened, and his eyes gleamed with an unsettling malevolence. "You see, the curse requires a new set of souls to continue its existence. You have unwittingly become part of the ritual." With those words, he lunged at us, revealing that he was not as feeble as he had appeared. Panic set in as we scrambled to our feet, attempting to escape the room. But the man was too fast, and he overpowered us with an unnatural strength. Lisa's scream pierced the air as he dragged her away, and my heart pounded in my chest. I could hear the others struggling, and in that moment, I realized we were in grave danger. The man's intentions were clear. He intended to kidnap us and use our souls in some unspeakable ritual. We fought with everything we had, but it was futile. The man was relentless, and his grip was unbreakable. He was about to drag us into a hidden passage when a loud banging erupted at the front door. The sound of sirens pierced the night, and the man's grip faltered for a moment. Realization hit us like a ton of bricks. Our parents had discovered our absence and called the police. The man was now faced with a choice: release us and face the consequences, or continue with his sinister plan. He chose the former, shoving us into the hidden passage and sealing it behind us. In the dark, cramped space, we huddled together, gasping for breath and shaking with fear. The sounds of a struggle and police commands echoed through the house, and it became clear that the man was being arrested, but we were still trapped, with no way to escape. Hours passed, and it felt like an eternity in that suffocating darkness. Finally, a muffled voice reached our ears. It was a police officer who had discovered the hidden passage. With trembling hands, we crawled out, disheveled and terrified. The police took our statements and assured us that the man would be prosecuted to the fullest extent of the law. Our parents arrived, their faces etched with relief and worry, and we were enveloped in their loving arms. It was a nightmarish Halloween we would never forget. In the aftermath of that harrowing Halloween night, we learned that the man had indeed been involved in dark, occult practices. He had been kidnapping children for years, attempting to use their souls in rituals to maintain his unnatural existence. We were fortunate to have escaped his clutches, but the horror of that night would haunt our dreams for years to come. The incident had a lasting impact on us. It's been 6 years since the incident took place,